I am Charae Lewis, and I am an urban fiction author who has written over 55 books, and urban fiction is in me. It is such an important genre. It's so crazy when it comes to the love for the art of writing. I don't know where it came from. It started with reading, because of course, all writers are readers first. And I just started falling in love with words, which is weird because I hated English. In high school, I hated it. So I think my love for the art of writing came from reading first. First published my book in 2012, and then after that I took a 3-year break. Then I jumped back into writing around 2015, and I've been consistent since then. My skills didn't come naturally when it came to writing. Like, I had to research and literally practice. I had tough editors that would get on me about a lot of things. You hate those tough editors at that moment, but then you look back and you're like, you know what? They actually helped me become a better writer. So this was something I had to really work on for years. I just didn't wake up with these skills. I'm an indie writer, and I basically do everything on my own, meaning I pay for all of my publishing costs. I don't do editing, but I could do like my covers, I could do formatting, things like that. So yeah. Also, I love being a part of the indie. It's a community now. At first, it was not a community. Initially, when I first went independent, it was just, we independent. We do it on our own. But now it's like an actual indie community. So when I first started off, I went with a publisher. At the time, they didn't define publishing like that. So it was traditional, and then it was like the lower level than traditional. So I was with 2 publishers that didn't work out. And then in 2015, I got with an independent publisher. And I was with her for like 2 years, I think, before I eventually went independent. And the experience was nice. She lent me her platform to create my own fan base. I learned so much about writing with her editors, even through her. It wasn't a bad experience at all. I will say though, with publishers, they're all about, maintaining their brand and, their money. So they kind of want you to write what is in. You can't veer off too much because, they want to, recoup that cost. So with that, they care more about their brand and the money, and so with traditional or being with a publisher, you don't have a lot of creative control as I would, being independent. Okay, so the creative control, I love I get to write whatever I want. I don't have to hear, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't, or, well, that's not in. I could just write whatever I feel is in my head. And it can be intimidating a little bit because you just don't know with our audience. Sometimes they can be fickle. Sometimes they like different stuff. Sometimes they want to stick to the script. So being super creative is a risk, but I'm always taking a risk with my arts. Okay, so the process of branding for me it's been a little up and down, because when I first left my publisher, I almost felt like I had to start back over, because sometimes when you leave a publisher, those readers don't follow you. So I had to start back over and try to just get my name out there. And it's almost like I had a different identity, because I was Charae under the publisher, but now I'm like Charae by myself, and I had to climb back up, it's just to get with that audience that I needed. So it was up and down, but once I got the hang of it, it became a lot easier. And I always try to make it all about the art. I don't, try to do all the antics online, or, I try to really stick with my art. So branding for me has been a little roller coaster, but not bad. But I feel like I'm getting the hang of it now. Okay, so as far as making sure I keep my brand in mind, there are certain things I won't comment on. I try to be very mindful of what I put out there on my social media, because social media is like a big part of being independent. That's where everyone sees our books and stuff like that. So I try to keep it professional, but I do show my personality. I do want, you want to connect with your audience. You don't want to just be like a robot, but I try to be mindful of the stuff I post. I don't post a lot of my personal life. I just like to keep it strictly about my art. So yeah, I don't feel pressure as far as with the genre in mind or the indie community. The only pressure I feel is for myself, just to make sure I'm maintaining the level of writing that I need to, or even maintaining the level of writing that my audience is used to. That's really the only pressure I feel. The hours I spend writing can be endless. It seems like I could do 10, 12 hours a day. Sometimes if I'm just not feeling inspired, I won't write. I'll take a break, but for the most part, I try to treat writing like a job, and I write every day. Except for weekends, I try to keep my weekends free. Anything inspires me when it comes to writing. Like, I can see something on TV, I can see someone walking at a mall, and I will get inspired and think of a whole storyline just off of something so small. So I don't have a specific person or thing that inspires me. I get inspired by anything. When I walk into an event and I see these people just waiting to hug me, buy my work, it is so surreal. Like, I cannot believe that this is my life. Like, I can't believe I write books, they indulge, they love them, and they keep coming back for more. Like, I can't believe it. As far as me, as a writer, I'm a normal, simple, laid-back girl. I don't require a lot. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and it was a rough area, but I didn't know it was the hood until I grew up and I looked like, dang, well, I was really in the trenches a little bit. But I don't know, I had a normal childhood. I grew up in a house with, like, my mom and my grandma lived upstairs with my uncles, so it was always a full house. I grew up around a lot of men because I got a lot of uncles. And I think that's how my male characters translate, because of them, because I kind of know how men act and think a little bit. So, like I said, I hated English in school. So writing was never on my radar. I didn't get into reading until high school when my best friend brought a Zane book to school. So that's when I started reading and just falling in love with words. I don't know. And then that sparked my creativity. And yeah, like, my family, I don't think they understand. Like, they just see I write books, but they don't know, like, it's a big deal in our community. They don't get it. So I think if we get, like, some bigger platforms behind us and support that way, that our art will be shown on a bigger, a bigger platform, because it's almost like the indie community is like almost a hidden gem. We're not always at the forefront. I always look at, like, Goodreads, Amazon, and they promote those traditionally published books. They don't promote our books unless we, like, purchase ads. So if, like, they supported us more, that would be great. I do know Amazon, they'll send, like, an email with our books, but I'm saying, like, when you go to Amazon and you on the front page, or even Goodreads, like, it would be nice to see some indie authors on their platforms. As far as, like, getting paid from Amazon, it could be better. We take a lot of flack a little bit because we're not getting paid what we deserve, especially, like, with Kindle Unlimited. They have, like, really been skimming off the pot a little bit as far as paying us. It used to be a certain number, now it's lower. And then, we don't get paid the same each month. So, 1 month you will have a good month, and then the next 2, it might be just okay. I wish it was a little more consistency when it came to the royalties with Amazon, but it's not. That's one of the cons we got to deal with. So as far as the treatment of the industry with my genre, I do see a couple disparities. For example, there could be a Black indie author sitting at the top of the charts and been there for like weeks, and then all of a sudden they'll put a random book in that was never on the chart and try to put it on top of that book. I've seen stuff like that happen. It's almost like a battle that you just gotta take almost, because we are a small community and we don't have that machine behind us and a lot of power. So we could call Amazon and complain, we can write emails all day, but nothing's gonna change. When it comes to urban fiction and the negativity that plagues the genre, I feel it's unfair, and I do feel like it's growing, but I do believe people put this negative connotation on it where they make sure to not, put it on their platforms and give it a certain light. And but it's growing to me, and I think it's unfair because there are other authors of different colors who write the mobsters, and it's almost the same storyline with them. They have the same elements in their books, but nobody really gets on them. But when it comes to urban fiction, it's always thugs, or always the good girl who's a virgin, which is so untrue. Like, I'm seeing a lot of creativity in urban fiction, so I hate when somebody try to blast urban fiction like it's just all the same book, and it's not. It's never been the same book. It may have certain elements, but the writers, they write it a certain way where you feel like you reading a whole different book. So yeah, I feel like it's unfair. Well, when it comes to the creative process with my urban fiction books, I always like to show how a person's trauma can show up in their love story, and sometimes it takes your significant other to expose it, because sometimes we live in like tunnel vision that we don't see how things affect us from our childhood. So that's why I love writing about people who've been through traumatic experiences and trying to get help and trying to heal. I love writing therapy scenes and things like that. So I don't know, that's just my lane that I love to be in. Well, my process when I'm writing the love recovery, which I love, by the way, I don't like perfect love. Like, everybody has something with them, and we all have flaws. So I don't necessarily write struggle love, but I do like to write some love that's flawed and that may require some healing. And I don't know, I just really think that's my lane. Like, I love writing just someone healing from, it don't have to be like a childhood trauma. It could be from their parents, it could be from a person at church. Like, it doesn't always have to be like pain inflicted from family. So I just love writing about healing with us. On the Run, I chose a character. Her name was Kanai. She had a skin disorder. I didn't want her to have that vixen look that some, urban fiction, we love us a good thick pretty girl. And I wanted her to look different. I wanted her to go through struggles of loving her imperfections, and then go through the process of eventually, accepting it and loving it. And then I wanted the love interest, to not care about her skin disorder, because we're not perfect. We all got something that we don't like about it, ourselves. So I don't know. I didn't want no perfect Patty. I wanted someone with some imperfections and who was still beautiful even with their, her skin disorder. So in my End of Time series, I chose for my character Bellamy to be vision impaired because of her love interest. It wasn't really because I wanted to be different, but because the character Omir his heart was so hardened, and he wasn't fazed by a pretty girl. I had to give him something that would draw him into Bellamy. And so one night I was on YouTube and I seen this girl who vlogs, who was legally blind, and she was still living her life normal. She would go for walks, she would cook, and I was so fascinated with her life. I was like really inspired. So that's what really made me create Miss Bellamy, who is like a fan favorite. Everybody loves her. So in my book, Mine Again, My character Yamiche suffered from amnesia. I always wanted to write about a character getting amnesia. I just had to figure out a way to do it my way. So once I figured it out, because you know that trope has been explored many times in different genres, but I wanted to do it, you know, for the urban genre. And it was just I just always wanted to write about a character who had amnesia and worked their way through that. And that's how Mine Again came about. Okay, so my book, Sincerely Me, that's probably one of my most heartfelt books I've ever written. I cannot tell you what inspired me to write Selana's story. I just know I needed to write it. And while I was writing, you'll be surprised, that was like the easiest book for me to write. Her story just came to me. I didn't have any writer's block. I have no dead spots in the story. And I wrote it with ease. And whenever I tell people that, they just cannot believe it because it ends in such tragedy. But her story needed to be told. And when I was writing it, in me, I'm like, how can I save her? Because her ending was in my head constantly. So I'm like, how can I save her? How can I save her? And when I tried to write it, it just was not, it wasn't natural. So I had to write her story the way it came. And I know readers don't understand that, but I had to write it the way it came to me. Okay, if I had to pick one book that would turn into a movie, I think I would choose my latest book, Saint Ave. It's entertaining. It has certain elements of mental illness in there, and it'll be exciting because it's a rapper, you know, their lives are exciting, and then a woman who's going through, well, just got out of a really rocky marriage. So I probably would pick this one. The reason why I choose to focus on Black men in my books, because Black men are important, just like Black women, and I feel like, you know, we come down on each other hard, so I just like to show our men some grace. And I try to do the same for my Black women in my books too. I just try to extend us grace and show us in a good light. When it comes to the bad rep of urban fiction, it does not bother me. My cousins, I think they read them, but the rest of my family, no. They do not read. They do not read my work. I don't know. I kind of don't even want like my grandma and my mom, because I don't know. They think I write sex books for some strange reason. Like they just think the whole book is filled with sex scenes. Like no, it's a plot there with a couple sex scenes. So no, but like my cousins, they'll read, and my best friend. You know what? I don't like writing sex scenes.
Really? How are you an urban fiction romance writer and you don't like writing sex scenes?
Because you just feel like you've written the sex scene over and over because you've written so many books. So it's kind of snatched the fun out of it. I'm always trying to reinvent, and I'm like, I'm just working too hard on this sex scene. Like, let me move on. For me, when it comes to my sex scenes, I want to make sure that I like to make sure my characters have a connection, a deeper connection, so the readers can feel it and they feel the passion on the pages, and it's not just about, you know, reaching a climax and then going about their ways. Like I want it to be, I want you to feel their connection. I want you to feel like they touching you, you know. That's why I really try to go hard with my sex scenes so it can match, you know, the rest of the book and the plot. So yeah. I don't know how I would explain to my younger self that I would be writing. I probably wouldn't believe it. Because like I said, writing was never on my radar, and English was never a subject that I gravitated towards. So I probably wouldn't believe it. The joy of being an urban fiction writer is just connecting with others who share my same skin tone and they understand. Even I feel like I always say Black people, we've all lived the same life. Just connecting with people and them really being serious about a made up story there. These characters don't exist, but they be so serious about them as if they are real life people. That's probably like my main joy, just seeing the readers' reactions and their joy. Yes, when a woman came up to me, well, she wrote me, She read one of my series. It was a sister series. And she said, your book prompted me to restore my relationship with my sister. And I was so blown away by that, because here I am just entertaining, writing just a regular book, and it prompted her to really just reconnect with her sister. I was just amazed by that. I didn't know the power of my pen. I have to be honest when it comes to like really thinking about, you know, the power of my pen. I don't think about it often as I should. I just keep going, like, because I know I need more stories to write so more people can connect with them, be entertained, be healed, whatever they feel. I just know I have an assignment that I got to keep writing. Urban fiction has transformed because we have more new voices and more creativity. And I just feel like a lot of the new voices, they don't really stick to the script. Because the urban in the past, they did have, you know, they had the same elements, but like I said, the pen was different. So you might get a thug in these two books, but these two books are very different. And now, like, the new writers, they are super creative, and I think the creativity has changed. I definitely think it's important to put current elements in books, especially urban fiction. What, you know, it's based on how the author feels, but yeah, we need to really reflect on the times and display how, you know, we live and what's affecting us in our community. How I feel about the language when it comes to urban fiction is we are trying to be as authentic as we can be. If we in a certain area and they talk like how they talk, we need to put that in the book. We can't, you know, we cannot play it safe in urban fiction. None of the veteran authors played it safe, and I don't feel like we should either. Okay, so Zane is like a staple in like Black literature, period. She writes a lot of erotica, and you know, when we were in high school, you know, we were sneaking to read that, and we had like, oh, they writing sex in books. So we pulled to her because of the erotica element, and of course she's a good storyteller. But I think almost, I would say 80-90% of urban authors, their first book was probably like a Zane book, because we were like sneaking to read them. But she is such a staple. Even to this day, she's always giving tips on how to help authors, and even editing tips. Like, she always has advice, and she's still humble, and yeah, she will always be loved in our community. My family, my husband and my son inspire me. Other authors inspire me. I love Sakara Allen. I love Tracy Brown, rest in peace to her. Dominique Thomas, even though it's my friend, I'm like a huge fan. That is my girl. I love Christina C. Jones, Danielle Santiago, Keisha Irvin, Kwan. He's such a staple in our community too. So yeah, like, I'm inspired by everybody, even my peers.